most kids I run into, they want to be instantly good at anything they try. And if they're not, they'll move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
And that's not the way the world works.
How many agents are the exact same way?
Yeah. I wish I could go back to being a brand new agent right now, figuring out a way to be successful in this market at the beginning of my career.
Without all the baggage.
Do you know what it would look like? I mean, you are on the way up.
We're also worried about, it's like, oh, I don't want to put out something that's wrong, or I don't want to speak on something that I'm not fully educated on. The hilarious thing about it is that's where they win, is by putting out something that's controversial. Then you can get attention.
You have to be willing to make that statement for something that you believe in or aren't sure about or just want to hear people's opinions on. That's what's going to get the traction.
Let's talk about what tough agents do in tough times. I think right now, I don't think it's any secret to anyone that things are different, that they are tougher. I had a friend of mine say the other day, who she owns a construction company. She's a home builder. And she said, there is no more luck involved in real estate right now. And I would agree with that. It's like, are people still selling? Yes. Are some agents having their best year ever? Yes. But is there luck involved in it? I think the luck is gone. I think you have to be very dialed in right now. And so for today's marketplace, if you are finding yourself kind of going, all right, what do I got to do here? This is the podcast for you. By the way, take just a minute, please, and hit that like and subscribe button. We appreciate you guys continuing to follow us. So the first thing that I want to go for here is a quote that comes from Jim Rohn. And if you don't know who Jim Rohn is, he was Tony Robbins' mentor. And he had a quote, and he said, "Don't wish it were easier, wish you were better." And as you and I have talked about this, really at this time in the marketplace, this is where careers are made because of the people who thrive and survive through this period of time. They're going to be able to do it in any market. And so use this as a catalyst for your larger success. Use this time as a catalyst for your larger success. Build in frameworks, build in things with intentionality, because a lot of times agents, I can tell you, they get distracted with all of the flash of real estate or showing houses, or they get distracted with, a lot of the things that don't really move their business forward. And this is a time where you can focus and dial in on the things that actually move your business forward. And then when the market changes, you are in an amazing position because those things can scale appropriately. And we talked about this in Six Figure School today. It's like, okay, we know you need to build in a weekly email, okay? But it is the same effort in that weekly email if you send it out, if it goes to 100 people, if it goes to 1,000 people, if it goes to 10,000 people.
Yeah. If you can buckle down and put in enough effort to be successful in a market like this, you can teleport to any market and be ultra successful.
I like the teleport. That's a good.
Ultra successful. I mean, we've seen markets from basically 2000 to now. Mm-hmm. We've experienced markets, both you and I, from 2000 to now. There have been some historically bad markets.
Yes.
2008 being one of them, that were better than what it is right now. So very, very tough market, but the agents that are putting in the work, putting in the effort can and will be successful. You will rise to the top. People will work their way out of real estate. It's the professionals that are winning right now.
That's right. That's exactly right. So what I would tell you first is like, don't wring your hands, control the controllables. And so the path to winning is in the things that you control. And most of it is internal, is not external, right? You can't do anything about the NAR settlement. You can't do anything about the election cycle. You can't do anything about interest rates. All you can control is your individual effort and your well-being. And so the first thing that we'll go into is number one, which is your personal life. Okay. And what do your habits look like in your personal life? What do your habits look like regarding your health and fitness? Because a strong body is going to lead to a strong brain, and getting blood flowing is going to help you with energy, right? And you're going to need all the energy that you can get right now. So what do your habits look like regarding health and fitness? What are you reading right now? Okay, what are you doing to put positive stuff in your brain? Because if you're doom scrolling social media, there's a lot of negativity out there right now. And if you're, you may be listening to this years in the future, but right now we're dealing with, like, there's the Olympics going on. There's some controversy around the Olympics. There's election stuff. It's just extremely vitriolic across the board. And that negativity sells, first of all, and it sucks you in, but it will create a negative mindset. It will raise cortisol levels. It will get you frustrated and angry. And that's no way to live. It's going to affect every ounce of your life. So what are you putting in that's positive? What are you reading? Okay. Who are you spending time with? This is something I talk to my kids about all the time. You are who you hang out with. Okay. So who are your friends? And if your friends are negative people, you might need to think about getting new friends. Okay. So who are you spending time with? And then also intentionally spending time with people who are going to lift you up. Right. And I have a great mastermind that we have once a month. It's just like, I leave that thing every time. It's like, I'm like, I don't have time to do this. And every time that I do it, I'm like, I'm so glad I did. So shout out to Athena and Kyle. Okay. And then what is your internal dialogue? Okay. Are you committed? What are you telling yourself? And one of the examples I wanted to use, because I deal with this a lot of times, is like, there's language out there in the world, right? We use language, especially when we're talking to ourselves. The first thing is like, hey, would you say the things that you're saying to yourself, would you say to someone else? No, because it's too mean, right? So first of all, be kind to yourself in terms of like getting through difficult things. But one of the things is like, and I will correct my kids on this, is they'll say, I'm not good at that. That's something that I'm not good at. And I hate that phrase. Just say, I'm working on that part of my life, or I'm getting better at that.
Yeah, I always tell my kids to add a yet. Mm-hmm. I'm not good at that yet.
Yeah, I like that too.
Kids these days, and I'm lumping them all in a box, but most kids I run into, they want to be instantly good at anything they try. And if they're not, they'll move on to the next thing. Yeah. And that's not the way the world works.
How many agents are the exact same way?
Yeah. But you know who I am excited for right now? Is brand new agents who know no different.
That's exactly.
I wish I could go back to being a brand new agent right now, figuring out a way to be successful in this market at the beginning of my career.
Without all the baggage.
Do you know what it would look like? I mean, you are on the way up. If you can figure out if you're a brand new agent listening to this, and you can find a way to be successful in the next 12 months, your career has no limits to the possibility.
That brings up something really good for even existing agents, is just go pretend you're a new agent.
Yeah, or that.
Right? Yeah. Go back to, it's like, hey, if you can put yourself in the mindset of, hey, I'm starting over and I'm looking for opportunities and I'm grinding and I'm doing the things that I need to do and I'm reorienting my life for success, do that.
Yeah, I mean, it was just, if you start your career during COVID, you're not getting punched in the mouth with, this is a real job with real work requirements that you really have to dedicate time and energy to be successful. The agents starting now are learning that right away. The agents, that came in during COVID are learning that now after they've already seen some success.
Which is the perfect segue into number 2, which is your work life and increasing your skill set. How good are you at your job? And understanding, like, okay, your conversion ratios, like if you're looking at this from a numbers perspective, you need to convert better. So your conversion ratios from your conversations need to get better. Okay, so we need to study sales techniques. We need to study psychology of buyers and sellers and decision making. You need to become amazing at listing presentations and buyer presentations so that they're so good that other people are talking about them and you get referrals from them. And what I would say is, like, there's so many little things that people leave out in this, just because they get so busy or they're distracted or they don't have to. A lot of times there are things that they didn't have to do to be successful. But if you can kind of get the little things right too right now, like be faithful in the small things, it will lead to success in the larger things. Yep. So those listing presentations, buyer presentations, interactions, sales psychology, like all of those little bitty, tiny hinges swing big doors.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, just take like a sports analogy, right? Like the best free throw shooters in the NBA, You think they just are just naturally great at shooting free throws? No, they after practice every day, they shoot 300 free throws and try to make at least 280 of them.
Yep.
And so that's the same thing that you do as an agent to get really good at sales calls or increase the skill set. You've got to make more phone calls.
Period.
And take notes about what didn't work or what went wrong and fix it on the next one. And you're not going to fix every objection every time. You're going to incrementally get better. And guess what? After a while, you're going to be really great. And you're still not going to get 100% conversion rate. You're going to...
You're never going to get 100% conversion rate, but you just have to do enough of them so you get better, right?
Yeah.
Because if I make, 100 calls and convert 10 clients, or I make 100 calls and convert 12 clients, that is a pretty large change in terms of income. Just those like little incremental changes. You probably saw this in your professional sports career, is like where people, like, it was just like the difference between winning or losing was probably just a tiny.
I mean, we're in the Olympics, right?
Like, perfect example.
Unless you're, Ledecky, who wins the 1,500 meter swim by 20 seconds.
Right.
Everybody else is in this year, people from all over the world, billions and billions of people.
Right.
And the margin of victory is milliseconds. And so, like, the same thing goes here. Like, we're just asking you to get 1% better each day with making these phone calls. And guess what? Then you can make a choice. Do I just want to continue to make more and more phone calls, even though my conversion rates are going up, to get more business? Or am I okay making $100,000 and I'm just going to make less phone calls, convert more, and continue on with my business? You get to make that choice.
Yeah.
But as you get better at making these phone calls, you are going to land more appointments. It's inevitable.
Yes. So yes, just get those things better, improve the skill set. Number 3, and we wanted to come back to this, is your time. And it's time to do an honest audit of your time. Here, you want me to tell you the number one thing you need to look at for your time? Go look at your screen time on your phone. Go look at your screen time on your phone.
It's sad, really.
I don't like mine. I can tell you that. But if you were really, really honest, you can find an extra 2 to 3 hours a day in just wasted time.
Yeah, I mean, most people are probably have between 5 and 7 hours of doom scrolling, which is insane.
Yeah, it is insane. And look, it's not your fault. You get sucked into it. Like, I get it. There's psychology behind it. Instagram and Facebook and TikTok are amazing at what they do. They are world class at stealing your attention. But you have to go to war with it if you want to be successful, and especially want to succeed in a new market, right? It's a gut check time. So it's time to take an audit, right? Go look at the screen time and be honest with yourself. Okay, go look at the screen time. Go look at what you're doing throughout, like, audit your day. What am I doing in these time frames during the day? I know I can find 3 hours between 6 and 9 a.m., right? All of you guys have little pockets that need to be reconfigured, right? So that you can be productive in that time, okay? And that doesn't mean you can't make time for rest. That's not what I'm saying. But I know that there are 2 to 3 hours in your day that you're blowing, okay? Here's what I can tell you about making that change. It is going to feel so stinking awkward at the beginning. It's going to feel awkward because it's different, and you are forging a new neural pathway, but do it long enough to where it feels normal, right? And have a book handy. Every time you want to scroll Instagram, it's time to read, okay? And that's going to control your time so much better because it's not sucking you in as much. But yeah, stay committed, right? When you have audited your time and say, okay, this is what I'm going to do, just stay committed even though it feels awkward. All right, number 4, your micro market messaging. A little bit of alliteration there. Okay, you have every one of you as a real estate agent has a micro market. These are the people that you have influence over that you know, okay? And they're follow you on social media. They see the things that you post, all of that stuff. So instead of worrying what the news is doing, what the news is telling people, right? Why don't you worry about what you're telling people about the market and sharing, hey, who is winning in this market right now? Who are the people that are making moves and what success is coming from that. That's what you need to be putting out there. So from education standpoint, what are you telling people? From a market standpoint, and then where people are winning. You were talking about this the other day. It's like where you see the gap as a lender. It's like all of these, like there's applications starting to come in to pour in, but you're saying like there's a gap, and the gap is education, right?
The gap is education. Yeah, people. I saw an article that came out yesterday, and we haven't even talked about this one. Zillow said that they interviewed, they basically took a survey of a couple 100,000 people, and 80% of them would have spent 30% less on a mortgage than they spent in rent, but weren't educated about the possibilities of buying a home.
Really?
So 80% of the people they surveyed would have spent 30% less on their mortgage than they did on the rent, but weren't educated, didn't understand that they could buy a home. And I think that's what we're seeing right now, right? So people think, I need all this cash to buy a home. I don't have all this cash. I'm out. And there's opportunities there. They don't fit the box for everyone, but there are many people out there that are continuing to sign another lease thinking it's out for them. Or, hey, I've got a 600 credit score. I need this 620. In reality, you only need a 580. It's an education gap. And not always. I mean, there are cases where people would be spending more on a mortgage than they would on rent.
Right.
So again, it's not 100%, but a lot of people out there can buy and don't realize it. And so there is an education gap.
Massive. And so the question you need to be asking is, hey, what am I sharing out there? And, we were talking about in Six Figure School, I just think really you're not going to be an effective real estate agent until you get comfortable putting stuff out there for people to consume in your micro market, like recording videos and putting out information. And here's the the funny thing about this, right? Because we're all so worried that I'm going to put out something wrong and someone's going to call me out on it. Okay. The hilarious thing about it is that's where, like, all of your media outlets and all these people, that's where they win, is by putting out something that's controversial, right? Because if you can stir up controversy, then you can get attention. But we're also worried about, it's like, oh, I don't want to put out something that's wrong, or I don't want to put information that's wrong, or I don't want to speak on something that I'm not fully educated on. Look, just put it out there, okay? And if somebody disagrees with you, fine. But I can tell you, I put out some pretty controversial stuff. I put out some numbers on stuff that I wasn't quite sure on. I was like, I think this is right. And I might even say in the post, like, I think this is right. But nobody ever is like, no, you're an idiot.
Yeah, it's always the controversy. I did a stupid post about should you use the popcorn button or not, and everybody wants to weigh in, right? Like, because some people say you need to use the popcorn. Some people say just hit 3 minutes and hit start. Everybody wants to have an opinion.
Yeah,
and if you have something that is universally just a fact, nobody can interject with like this opinion that might be controversial. Right. People like that. And so you have to be willing to make that statement for something that you believe in or aren't sure about or just want to hear people's opinions on. And that's what's going to get the traction.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So just get used to putting it out there. And I would say really to be an effective real estate agent, like, do I have to have an educational fact every single day? No. But do I need to be posting every day? Yeah, I do.
Yeah, I didn't tell you about this, but I went to breakfast with a couple of guys in my network that are all in some facet of real estate. They're either mega real estate agents now, or they're lenders, or one of them owns a title company.
One second before you go, where did you guys go to breakfast?
Is it FICA? Is it
that the new place?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Cool.
So we go there, and why?
I just know because I'm interested to know where do like these guys go to breakfast. Like, did you guys go to Cracker Barrel?
No, because I'm always looking. Walk into a Cracker Barrel.
Well, breakfast is my favorite meal of the day, and I always want to know what the good spots are.
See, I that's my least favorite meal of the day. I went decades without eating breakfast. I still don't eat breakfast, and so I went and had a coffee, but they had breakfast. And
you just had a coffee.
But
why don't you like breakfast?
I don't. I just
That's
don't.
Weird.
I went decades without eating it as a professional cyclist. So I went to breakfast with them, and that's what they wanted to do. But it was, I will not walk in a Cracker Barrel. Let's set that straight.
What's wrong with the Cracker Barrel?
It's terrible. It's terrible.
I don't like
So anyway, we were all kind of talking about like this market, and I kind of asked the question like, when did you guys start to see success? Because they all started in different. We all had that in common. Like I started, as a higher ranking IT executive. One of them started in banking. One of them started. So they all started in different areas, right? And the common theme was until they hit the average was 6-year mark, nothing was working. So like one guy who now sells 60 homes a year, he said it was the 6-year mark for me. The other guy who was in mortgages, he said it was a 7-year mark for him. So agents want, if they're not successful in 2 to 3 years, they're dropping out.
Yeah.
But you have people who are now selling 60 homes a year in this market saying it was the 6-year mark.
Interesting.
So this job career is not easy. No. It takes time, but they put in the effort for all those years and making average returns in order to see something profitable in year 6 or year 7. One guy said 8 for him. The title company really took off in year 8.
Yeah.
And that's how long it takes to build a confident referral pipeline for whatever business you're doing, right? If it's real estate, if it's mortgage, if it's title. The last guy was an insurance guy. So we kind of tried to grab them all, right? And so all of these guys are based on mostly referral business or going out and finding the business themselves. It almost takes a decade.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? If you go do any career in life, it probably takes a decade to get it established. Yeah. This is no different.
Yeah. That doesn't mean you can't make money.
Doesn't mean you can't.
It doesn't mean you can't find success. Money. But they were making money, but it's like where it feels like, okay, I've got this.
The business comes to me.
Yeah.
And there's always going to be people that want to be more hungry and go out and find even new business, even when the business is coming to you. But the point is they didn't have to work so hard for their baseline.
Yeah.
And that's what it takes.
That's true.
But nobody's willing to do that for that long before they shift to something else. The attention spans are dropping. Just like we talk about our kids, like they don't have attention spans. Same with careers.
That's absolutely right. Actually, that's really encouraging because it's like, okay, well, for you guys that are, in the first 5 years, it's like, it feels like, God, is this ever going to take off? Is it ever going to work? I can tell you as an experienced entrepreneur, nothing works as fast as you want it to, period. And you just have to do it long enough. You can even look at this podcast as an example of that. Like for the first, 20 episodes, we had like 100 subscribers.
It was just our moms.
I remember we had 99 subscribers, okay? And my kids were like, oh, let's make it 100. I'm like, nope, I want it to be real.
Organic, yeah.
I want it to be real.
I remember that, yeah.
And that took a lot of time, energy, recording, editing, just to get to 100 subscribers before it shot up to like 3,200, right? And that happened really in probably a 6-month period.
Yeah, it's anything in life that you want is going to take some time and energy to work for it.
Yeah.
Careers are not built on months or years. They're built on likely a decade worth of hard work.
Yes. Which is another great segue into tracking your numbers, like understanding what your numbers are, understanding those ratios, because it takes the emotion out of it, because there's going to be emotional ups and downs. Sometimes, it's just interesting. And I really operated for, I think probably the first 8 years without really tracking numbers appropriately. And I can remember it just felt like you're just trying to operate by feel, and it's just not an effective way to operate a business. Once you get the numbers dialed in, like you understand, it's like, okay, your ratios and call conversions, when you understand like the number of calls that you made, you understand what the sales numbers look like, volume, where how your sales volume tracks throughout the year. And then that helps you subtract the emotion out of it, and it helps you subtract the fear out of it. And you can look at like, hey, you can start to see patterns. You can start to see where success comes from. And so tracking those things, like whether it's you or have a CRM or whether you're just writing it down, tracking the numbers is going to be extremely helpful for you.
The best businesses in the world know exactly where their business comes from, where to spend time to go and get it if they need more of it, and what their trajectory of business looks like in different times throughout the year. And understanding that to a T, so that if they do find themselves in a down market, they know exactly which source of business is the best to spend the most time in at that given moment to generate more.
Right.
And that it's no different here. Like if your number one source of business per minute you spend on the phone is for sale by owners, go do more of that.
Yeah.
If the number one is your paid lead source that your broker provides, do more of that. But you have to know where the most profitable section of your business comes from, and you need to be spending time there and not wasting it doing the things that don't matter.
Yeah. Couldn't have said it better. Okay, so guys, just to wrap on this episode, again, as you're navigating, just focus on these things. Focus the path is really internal. It's controlling the controllables. So in your personal life, in your work life, with your time, with your messaging to the marketplace, and tracking everything that you're doing, it's going to make things go well. And again, it helps you grow even more and harvest even more when the market does shift to where it's easier or there's more transactions coming through. You're going to be able to get more of it. So now's the time to dig in on those things that are really going to move your life forward and frankly make you a better person. I think that's the thing that I would leave with, is like, this is all about becoming a better person, a better business owner. And so if you can do that right, all of these other things are going to be affected positively.
Yeah.
Right. All right. Any last words from you?
The best way I know how to describe this is if I told you that every time you made a phone call is going to hand you $100.
Yeah.
And every time you went to show a house is going to hand you $10. Where would you spend your time? On the phone.
On the phone, yeah.
Yeah. So it's just like, track the numbers, figure out what works for you, figure out how much money you make for that particular lead source that you're spending time on, and it will start to make crystal clear sense what actions to take for the next 30 days.
Agreed. All right, guys. Hey, thank you again. Take some time to like and subscribe to the Agent Bridge podcast. Our sponsor today, Hesson Loans. If you need a loan, go to hessonloans.com. Thank you so much.